Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. So today I'm going to show you how you can make a really cool multicolored shirt out of two old ones. So stay tuned if you want to do the exact same thing. So today I'm going to show you what we're going to need first. So here are the two shirts that we're going to use, and of course some fabric scissors, some pins, measuring tape, as well as a hand gauge or a ruler, then of course an unstitcher this time. So we're going to unstitch the stitches with this, and then some matching thread in any color that you'd like. So you see here I'm going to use the darker one for the darker shirt and the white one for the lighter one. So you see here I have two shirts that are striped. I think that's going to look really good when I put it together, but of course you can use pretty much anything you'd like. This is especially cool if you have a shirt that you really like but is a little bit too small or too big. That way you can basically mix and match the pieces and use whatever you have and want to get a new shirt and one that also fits you nicely. If you're a beginner, I'd still recommend using two equally sized shirts, just because it's going to be a little bit easier with the length and the width in case you want to alter something. So if you've never done this before, make sure you take two shirts of the same size. It's also important to see what the width of our sleeves are here on the top, where the shoulder section stops and the sleeve starts. So what I'm doing is just putting the one shirt on my surface and the other one on top of it and checking if the width is the exact same. So in this case it is, and it's going to make everything a lot easier. So here what we're going to do is basically unstitch the one sleeve and then the other as well, and basically just swap them. So now that we unstitched everything and pulled out the little sections or pieces of thread that we don't really need, then we're ready for the next step. So now what we're going to do is connect the two pieces. So just make sure you have the right side. So that's where the button is on the outside. So just make sure it's not inside out so that you don't sew it on the wrong way. So yeah, the button should be on the back side. That way you know what the front and the back is. And yeah, now what we're going to do is basically take the open edge of the shirt and the open edge of the sleeve, align them nicely, and then pin and basically stitch over that. So we can fold it inwards kind of, but I think the easiest way to do it is just kind of push the sleeve inwards and then pin everything and stitch it up, and that way we're going to get a really nice edge on here that's also going to look really neat. Also, something that seems challenging but is actually a pretty cool trick to know how you can also make sure that everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Take the stitches on the bottom here and use them kind of as a guide. So they should be meeting the stitches on your sleeve as well. So here I actually already did an extra stitch just to make sure that this stitch doesn't keep fraying or ripping or doing anything that I don't want it to do. So that's an optional extra step that's going to make things a lot easier. So feel free to try it out. Okay, so as I said, this is the orienting stitch that we're going to use. So we're basically going to align the stitch on the sleeve with the stitch on the rest of the shirt. So we're going to start pinning right there, and then we're just going to go into a circle on top. We're going to do the same thing with the stitch on top, and then we're going to stitch everything up. So just pin everything nicely, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine. So this is the shirt with the new sleeves now, and you can see here what it looks like. So it's pretty neat, although it might have seemed a little bit challenging at the beginning. So I did 2 stitches. I actually did it with a 20 stitch, but you can do 2 separate single straight stitches. And yeah, you can see here on the bottom as well that I matched the stitches. So in this case, I do have about 1 centimeter in between, so it didn't work perfectly, but it's not going to be visible since it's on the bottom side. So just make sure that everything looks good, and then those little mistakes are not going to be visible when you wear your piece. So yeah, here what you can do with these bottom sections of the sleeves, what we can do is take basically a piece from this old shirt in this grayish black and white shade, and then swap those. So here is my sleeve of the other shirt. So what I'm going to do is unstitch this bottom cuff, and I'm basically going to swap it with the shirt I'm working on right now. So you can see here that we have basically the same thing going on in both shirts. So what we want to do is unstitch these stitches that you see on here, and then we're going to swap that, so it's basically just going to have a different style, but it's going to look the exact same way. Just make sure you don't rip any stitches that you don't want to rip, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. So now that you unstitch this and you cut off the other cuff, we can get basically to the exact same step as we did with the sleeves. So what we're going to do is connect these 2 pieces. So again, make sure that your edges are nicely aligned, and make sure that your buttons are on the right side. So where the button is on the sleeve is where the button should be on the cuff. And then what we're going to do is basically open the cuff up, and then what we're going to do is pin it nicely when we push the sleeve section inside. So what we want to do is make sure the edges are aligned, and then everything else is also going to fall into place as we start the stitching. So start pinning the one side and then basically work your way to the other end. So since the sleeve section is a little bit wider than the cuff, and that's normal with shirts, you might want to decide where you want your little ruffles to be. So decide that beforehand, and that way you're going to get the perfect result in the end. So now we're going to pin that, and then we're going to do a stitch over the stitches that we already have here, and we're going to get our cuff done. So you guys, here is now the cuff all done, and I'm going to show you the entire shirt. I'm really satisfied with the way it looks. So you can see here we have the middle section in the grayish black shade, and then the sleeves are a little bit playful in a different shade. So I really like the way it looks. Of course, I'm going to do a different video where I'm going to replace this top section as well, the collar, but for now I think this is good. So thanks for watching, see you in the next video, and until then, have a wonderful day. Bye!